Flesh and Blood trading card game. Once again, this is going to be a stream from the Flesh and Blood ladder event, which I am running here. So this one is going to be Grendel versus W. Harrison here. And it should be an interesting match. I believe that Grendel was the number 2 seed and W. Harrison was the number 7 seed in the top 8 tournament at the end of this ladder. And yeah, so we're going to get right to it. The Grendel is going to be going first. And his opponent here, Will, is playing Dorinthea versus Grendel's Brute, and he has given Grendel first player. And so we're going to see what's going on here. This should be a relatively interesting game. Now, I think the decision to give the opponent first, a little controversial. Sometimes a Brute can do a bunch of intimidates on the first turn and make it so you can't really block, which then turns it into a not very good situation. In this case, Grendel has a bit of an odd hand, kind of awkward. He has 2 Barraging Beatdowns, which is certainly good, and a Blood Rush Bellow, but he doesn't have a card with... he doesn't have an attack card that he could discard to trigger that Blood Rush Bellow, so I think it's comparatively likely... I don't know, we could even just see Arsenal pass, honestly, with the Unmovable. The Barraging Beatdowns have a lot less value forcing out blocks here than they would normally. But we're going to have to see what happens here. Okay, pitches the Unmovable, pitches 1 Beatdown for a single club swing here. Now this, I'm not totally sure about. His opponent can block with 1 card and take 1 if he wants to potentially enable things like Skullcap's bonus or Scar for a Scar, Life for a Life. Or he could double block and take no damage. Looks like he's going to opt for the double block and no damage. So Will blocks that completely. And we're going to see what happens here. So a double block and then... probably an Arsenal card. I'm a little curious as to why he didn't Arsenal the Unmovable there, but I think he's trying to. I think Grendel's trying to set up for a big turn himself. So he ends up with I believe it's another Beatdown in Arsenal, and I think he's going to try to go for a Beatdown with the Blood Rush Bellow as well. And then we're going to see. It looks like a fairly strong hand there from Will in terms of aggression. He could, for instance. I think what we're going to see is probably pitch blue, hit and run, play spoils, swing, and then he can follow that up with the E-Strike if the attack is blocked, and if it's not blocked, he can play the yellow hit and run, and then swing again for 5 or 6. I think for 5, 6 if he pitches the E-Strike to use his bracers. So, Spoils of War here, very classic card. Spoils of War, your next weapon attack this turn gains +2 and go again. Whenever a weapon you control hits this turn, create 2 copper tokens, and it itself has go again. So then coming in at strength 5 with go again. The Dawnblade there, if you can score 2 hits with this weapon, it is going to get a +1 counter, though you'll have to keep scoring hits to keep that counter. So this is 5 go again, 2 copper on hit. So I think Grendel is thinking about his defensive options here. There's an interesting situation. So the Spoils of War and Dawnblade coming in for 5. If he doesn't stop it, will be able to play the yellow hit and run, which will then... So hit and run's an interesting card. It has 2 different effects. First off, it gives your next weapon attack this turn go again, but then it also means that if you attack with a weapon, your next attack in the turn gains +2. So in this situation, he could play it for the +2 and then swing the Dawnblade again at strength 5, which would be potentially annoying to defend against if the first one got through. And generally speaking, you don't want to let your opponent get Downblade counters, though I think Grendel might be considering doing it in this case since he has such a powerful hand on offense. But we'll have to see exactly what happens here. So I think Grendel here. So he has the Blood Rush Bellow. So he can play this and everything in his. So he could pitch the Awakening Bellow, play the Blood Rush Bellow, and then both of these would be hits for the Blood Rush Bellow, which would cause an Intimidate as well as drawing 2 cards. He could then play the Barraging Beatdown. That's another Intimidate. So we're already looking at 2 Intimidates with a Beatdown. Looks like Grendel's just going to take this hit, 5 damage getting through. So then I think what we're going to see, so we could see E-Strike for 7 here, or E-Strike 5, draw a card, but I think it makes more sense to play the yellow hit and run, which will give you the +2 damage and the go again, and then swing the Dawnblade for 5. And then with the 1 card in hand, you're still threatening an Iron Song response, so if the opponent wants to stop the counter, they might actually have to overblock heavily. And then you can put the E-Strike into Arsenal and have that ready for the future. I think that's going to be a better play. But it looks like... oh man, he's going big. So he's going for he's going to pitch to use the bracers. Wow, he doesn't use hit and run. Very odd. Very odd. This is going to be an easy block. Okay, I'm very surprised that he didn't play the hit and run here. He may be saving it to try to threaten more in the future, but I definitely would have played it for its stats there. And if you are going to pitch one of your cards, I would have pitched the E-Strike before, or I would have pitched the hit and run before I pitched the E-Strike. So I'm kind of confused by what Will's doing here, but maybe he's decided that he wants to save that hit and run for the future. I just think it would have been more useful to put more priority on that block. If he had done that, if he had played the hit and run as well as swung there, he'd be coming in for 6, and it wouldn't be possible to block it with just equipment unless his opponent was going to lose his tunic. And given that Grendel didn't block, that's likely a signal that his hand is very strong. Sometimes if your opponent doesn't block something that ordinarily would be something that you really want to block, that can be an indicator that they're saving up for a good turn of their own, and you might want to try to put on even more pressure. So interesting a thing there. Not what I expected out of that turn from Will. But we're gonna see what happens next. So for those of you who are just joining us here, this is the ladder tournament. This is the 3rd game in round 1, the round of 8. So the first, I streamed the first game to be played on this channel, and I believe it's still in the VODs. I'm going to be uploading that to YouTube as well later on. And the second game, unfortunately, was at a time where I couldn't easily cover it, and that was, I believe, Guardian versus Ninja, and the Guardian prevailed in that game. And now the 3rd game here, Warrior versus Brute. We're going to see what happens. So the Blood Rush Bellow triggering 1 Intimidate here. Now there is a Scar for a Scar in hand, which might mean that it might be favorable for Will in this situation to take some damage, get under Grendel's life total, and then swing in with that Scar for a Scar. I'm not sure. He does also still have that hit and run in his arsenal, which will potentially allow him to do something cool. You know, we could actually see a pretty aggressive turn from Will, depending on what happens here. One of the problems with Brute sometimes is that all this crazy stuff that you can do, you know, it occasionally just doesn't really do anything that aggressive. So Swing Fist, think later. It is an additional cost, discard a random card, strength 4 with go again. This is going to trigger another Intimidate. Yeah, so the Predatory Assault is discarded. So then that's going to be another Intimidate out of Will's hand, and then Grendel will be able to play. So he has a Drone of Brutality, which is not that great, but he could play the Blood Rush Beatdown in Arsenal, pitch the Drone of Brutality in hand, and come in with a club swing that can't be stopped. It'll come in with a club swing where the Beatdown effect won't be able to be stopped. So that's pretty interesting. So this Swing Fist, think later, coming in for 4. I would just not block this as well. I think he just needs to take the hit. Blocks with the Snatch, not what I would want to do. I would want to keep that card fit to maintain aggression, and blocking for 2 with it is not going to be as good as the aggression you can get. I think if I'm Will at this point, I'm like, you know what? He's going to hit me hard. But that's fine. So he's going to hit me hard, but what's going to happen then is I am going to come back even harder. You know, I'm going to do Scar for a Scar, hit and run, swing, and then play the Snatch after that. That's a pretty good turn. But I think he's gone a little more defensive in a way that I don't think is going to be that good. So then the Barraging Beatdown does come out. It's red. So this is +4, and then the club is strength 5. It has the +1 from the discarding a card with 6 or more, and then +2 from the bellows. That's a 11 damage hit, and all that damage does get through. I forgot to mention the Swing Fist Think Later was also buffed by the Blood Rush Bellow, so good turn there for Grendel. Um, Ironically, oh, you know what? The banished card there actually was another Snatch, so I didn't realize that, and that makes defending with the first one make a lot more sense. So now, Will may have just taken a big hit, but this is one of the downsides of the Intimidate mechanic. Because he gets those cards back immediately, this is going to be his opportunity to do some damage himself. So I think what we're looking at this turn is probably lead off with Scar for a Scar, that's 4 with Go Again. Then you can pitch the Springboard Somersault, play the hit and run, swing for 3, and then you can play the Snatch after that. And so then you're threatening, so that's a total of 11 damage, and if they don't block the Snatch at the end, you get to draw a card and put it in Arsenal, which is pretty sweet. We'll see what Grendel does in response to this attack, but it's definitely not a situation where his opponent is just doing nothing. On the other hand, Grendel has drawn into a pretty good natural set of things there, so he could potentially be doing a so he could pitch that Wrecker Romp, play Barraging Beatdown, and then play Alpha Rampage. I believe that would trigger 3 Intimidates, which would mean that the Barraging Beatdown would be guaranteed to land. That's a lot of damage there against Will, so it's possible we're going to see... Ooh, wow. Very... Okay. This I think is not what you normally want to do. I think Will's trying to go into a more defensive style, though, so maybe that's going to pay off. The thing about this is that if his opponent doesn't block... then he, well, I don't know. So the hit and run is in this case just giving Go Again, and then the Dawnblade swing. The thing is, because he pitched the Snatch to play Dawnblade, he doesn't have the option to play this afterwards if Grendel blocks this. So sometimes if the opponent will just block the Dawnblade, Dorinthea's ability here allows you to attack an additional time with your weapon, but only if the initial attack hits. So if that initial attack gets blocked, then he would still have been able to play this Snatch using the Go Again to create some more threat on that turn and potentially draw a card that could go into Arsenal. But because he pitched the Snatch instead of the Somersault, this attack here, if this gets stopped, he doesn't have a follow-up option. So it's a little interesting. The upside, though, is it does mean that this Springboard Somersault is going to get to go into Arsenal. If Springboard Somersault is played from Arsenal, it gets +2, so that's a good defensive card. Grendel opting once again to just take the hit. And then I think we're going to see the Springboard Somersault pitched and then bracers and then swing for 4. And if this one hits, it will give him a counter. So we'll see if Grendel finally blocks. The problem is blocking is going to break up this cool attack that he has that he can put together with the Alpha Rampage and Barraging Beatdown, which is actually a very strong and aggressive turn. But if he doesn't block... he doesn't even have 4 points of armor, even if he wants to lose his tunic, because he's currently higher health, so the skull cap isn't on. So he has to use a card from hand plus a piece of armor if he wants to stop the Dawnblade from getting a +1 counter. Yeah, Big Medc says, early days, but that was a big turn by Grendel. How much of his hand will he want to keep to play from it? Yeah, so in theory, Grendel wants that entire hand, because he needs that entire hand to do the thing that he would most want, which is Barraging Beatdown, pitch the blue. Oh, he lets it in. He's going to go for the big turn. He's going to go for that big aggressive turn, and that could pay big dividends for him. I think he's certainly going to be able to land a lot of damage with it, but it also does mean that there is a +1 counter on that Dawnblade now, which is normally not something that you want to give your opponent. And the problem for Grendel is that once he does his big turn, his opponent is, oh man, and that's actually kind of scary. That's kind of a scary hand there from. That's actually a very scary hand there from Will. So Grendel's gonna get to do 3 intimidates and a big attack with a guaranteed beatdown. And the thing about that is that it's gonna be a lot of damage, but then his opponent is gonna get those intimidated cards back and be able to come out swinging. So it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what happens here. On the plus side, the CNC there is not gonna be as relevant since Grendel isn't gonna end his turn with a card in Arsenal. Okay, and yeah, as predicted. So this Alpha Rampage comes in. Has an additional cost to discard a random card. The random card's the only one left. It does have Strength 6, so it triggers 1 Intimidate from Rhinar's ability, and then 1 Intimidate from its text, and there was already an Intimidate from the Beatdown. So then this is coming in for a total of 13 because the Beatdown's giving it +4 unless it's defended by less than 2 non-equipments, which can't happen. So Will is in a position where he has to think, does he want to defend with that hit and run? Or what? How's he going to do this? He could defend with the hit and run to save 3 of the damage, or he could just take the damage and try to come back even bigger. He has that +1 counter. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Okay, so he's going to opt to do some defense with his equipment here. He blocks for 3. Okay, blocks for 3 and takes 10, I guess. Yeah, it was 25-24. Okay, so then he's going to redraw. He has a full hand now. Grendel has another Alpha Rampage, and he could do another Alpha Rampage, but that time it would only be a 2 Intimidates, so it could still definitely be defended against. And he would have to play a little odd to do it also. We'll see what happens here. I think we're going to see hit and run, pitch blue, overpower, swing. Yep. Coming in for 4 with go again. 2 floating. So the funny thing here is that if Grendel blocks this, Will can use his tunic to go up to 3 energy, then play overpower for the +4, and that would put him up to 8. So it would have to be a heavy overblock to stop this. And then he could pitch the CNC and swing again for 4, and if that one hit, it would put the Dawnblade up to 5. He could also just let this attack get in and then play CNC, but I think that's a lesser play for 2 reasons. The first one is he doesn't want one of these overpowers in his hand or in his arsenal because it's a very conditional card. You have to have a lot of energy to play it. And then the second one is there's no card in arsenal to menace with the CNC. So I think what we're going to see here is I think it's more likely that we see Grendel block this, and then we see the other overpower used from hand to get in, and then just another weapon swing. But we'll have to see. Now, there is also that Fate Foreseen, though. So if Grendel blocks... it's a little interesting. So Grendel could stop this attack. So if he does, like, block with one of his 3 blocks plus a piece of equipment, and then we see the overpower, it could be countered by the Fate Foreseen for an exact block, and then Will won't have the energy to play the CNC, but he can just put it in arsenal after that, so he still ends up kind of okay. It's going to be a little interesting. Now, Grendel could also play risky here. He could block with a single card and then play the Fate Foreseen for a total of 7 block, which would get around the usual attack reactions that only come in for 3, but it wouldn't get around this overpower. So let's highlight this overpower here. Blue overpower. So this is the blue version. It's the one that most frequently sees play. So it costs 3 energy, which is a ton. Target weapon attack gains +2. If defending hero has defended with a card from their hand, this chain link the attack gains an additional +2. Okay, so Grendel's being conservative here. He goes for a double block. So that is going to be a total of 6 defense. And we're going to see if Will goes for the tunic overpower. I personally would do it here. I think there's little reason not to do it, actually, because... if Grendel does react with the Fate Foreseen, which he probably will, that's still a defense reaction that you got out of your opponent's hand, and then you put the CNC into your own arsenal, and you're in a relatively good spot for the next turn, given that Grendel will not be able to do anything very aggressive. So I think I think you use Tunic for the 3rd energy and play the 2nd blue overpower. No, he's gonna pass. Okay, maybe he's gonna. Oh no, he plays the CNC. I don't know. I don't think this is the best play. I think this is the advantage of this. So defense reactions can't be played against CNC. The thing is, this just isn't that impactful. It's just damage. So defense reactions can't be played against it. If it hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. But there isn't a card in arsenal. That CNC is just damage, and Grendel can just take it, which indeed he does. That's basically as expected. And I think Grendel's now going to simply... so the thing is, I would have preferred to do the overpower and then CNC and arsenal. That would have actually set him up in a really good spot, because this next turn he could do pitch, glint, blue, hit and run, swing, and then play the CNC, which would be very strong. So in this case, we're going to see just drone, pitch there for a club swing, and then we're going to see that Fate Foreseen go into arsenal. The attack is blocked for 3, so 1 damage does get through. Yeah, I don't know. Now we do have life for a life. Yeah, so I think what we're gonna see here is life for a life, pitch the blue, hit and run, and swing, and then glint. I think that's pretty likely what we're gonna see. Life coming in here, life for a life, or sorry, scar for a scar, not life for a life. So scar for a scar, strength 4, 0 cost. When you play it, if you have less life than your opponent gains, go again. So strength 4 with go again, very strong attack there. No attack reactions, blocked by 1 card there. 1 damage gets through to Grendel. Both players have been very aggressive. Now, this could be an opportunity for Grendel. He has two Blood Rush Bellows in the hand, so he could go really big. But the problem is that his other stuff doesn't actually enable it, so he's in a bit of an awkward position. Yeah, so then we're going to see the Hit and Run pitched, and then the Dawnblade coming in. So that's another 3. Um, and we can. I think there's a fair chance that we're going to see no block into Glint. But if we do, that's just going to probably be shut down by that defense reaction that is in Arsenal. So that's a little unfortunate there for Will. If he had played the Overpower last turn and gotten that defense reaction out of play, I think he would be in a stronger position now, even with Grendel not having taken the damage from that Command and Conquer. But I could be wrong. Okay. Fazale, thanks for the follow. Much appreciated. Okay, and it looks like we're actually just going to see a standard block. So he could Glint here to try to draw into either an attack reaction or an attack that he could play. He chooses not to do it. He is going to put the Glint into Arsenal now, and then we're going to see... So the leftmost card that he draws there would be the card that he would have drawn from Glint. Let's see if it would have helped him. It would have been a Scar for a Scar, so he could have played that for another 4 damage. So helpful, but not incredible. And it's probably just going to be a pitch into Club Swing here, since Grendel can't activate the Blood Rush Bellow. So Blood Rush Bellow, interesting card. Is an additional cost to play it. You discard a random card. Brute attacks get +2 this turn. If the defending card has 6 or more strength, draw 2 cards and it gets go again. In this case, he didn't have a random card with 6 or more strength to discard. So instead, he's just going for the swing. Incidentally, there's one thing that I kind of neglected to mention here that is relevant to this matchup, and that is that unlike some players, Grendel here is not playing the Gambler's Gloves here with his Brute. He's actually just playing the standard Iron Rod Gauntlet, a relatively weaker item in some ways. It just has Blade Break and blocks for 1. So the thing about this is the Iron Rod Gauntlet is going to reliably give you that block, and it'll happen every time, whereas the Gambler's Gloves is not guaranteed. And I've spoken with Grendel before. He really doesn't like... he's really not fond of using Scabskin Leathers. It's caused him a lot of problems before. You know, I've streamed a game on this channel where he lost due to rolling double 1s at a key moment against Ninja. So rolled a 1, used those Gambler's Gloves, rolled a 1 again. And it's brutal, but it does happen. It can really undermine you. Yeah, so that's one of those things. And, it didn't really pan out. And he's kind of gotten sick of it. And as a result, he's playing that Iron Rod Gauntlet instead and just trying not to roll leathers unless it's really desperate. And I believe he's also removed the Tome of Fyendal from his deck, a card that often synergizes very well with the Scabskin Leathers. No attack reactions there, so the Scar for a Scar getting in for 1 damage. And then we do see a Steelblade Supremacy fueled Dawnblade strike here. And this is actually very, very powerful. Strength 5 draw if hit. I think we're going to see a heavy block here from Grendel. Because if this gets in, the draw is really strong, and he could trigger those bolters for go again, or he could play that Glint for go again. There's just a lot of stuff that Will can do here. I think Grendel has to do a heavy block. I think quite possibly he'll have to block with both of his cards from hand, and even then, only his defense reaction I think will save him. Now, he could block exactly 5. He could block with 1 of the cards from hand and 2 pieces of equipment. So, like, if you wanted to keep that Blood Rush Bellow, for instance, which is a good card, he could block with just that one plus some equipment. But no, he decides he's going to block with both of them. And I think now we are going to see... I think we're going to see that Out for Blood from Will's hand here. So, blocked 6. No, Glint comes in first. Glint for go again, and it draws a card. Okay, that gives him some information as to what else he has. Spoils of War, and then the Out for Blood. So then this is a warrior attack reaction. Target weapon attack gains +3 if the defending hero has defended with an attack from their hand card with a card from their hand. This chain link, your next attack this turn gains +1. So then we're gonna see that Fate Foreseen come out to counter it. Defense reaction at strength 4, and it lets you opt 1. So it's gonna be a total of 10 defense. That is gonna stop this. If Will had drawn another attack reaction, he probably could have gotten through, which would have been devastating for Grendel, but luckily for Grendel, that's not what happened. And the single attack reaction was not enough to get in. If it had been a rout, it also probably would have gotten in. And then we do see the Spoils of War go to Arsenal, though. Grendel's only card is a potion, which probably he's going to play. He did have to block with that Blood Rush Bellow, and now I think we're going to see probably a relatively strong turn. Oh man, this could be big. This could be big. There's an Iron Sock Determination and a Steel Blade Supremacy in hand. We could see the Overpower pitched, Iron Song Determination, Spoils of War, Steel Blade Supremacy. That would be a total of Strength 6. It would be a Strength 6 attack with Dominate, and it would go again on hit. No, wait, it would be more than that. It would be Strength 8 because it would be +2. Okay, wow. Flock of the Featherwalkers used for defense. Yeah, I think Will's gonna go big here. So his other option would have been to do a play that ends up with playing that Flock of the Featherwalkers on the Spoils of War, but he doesn't do it. I think he's going to go with the big Steelblade Supremacy plus Iron Song Determination play. This could be a huge opportunity for Will. There's no defense reaction in Grendel's hand. I don't think he can stop it. Even if he uses all of his armor, he only has three defense left from his armor. So if this is the big play that I'm thinking it's going to be, Grendel's going to be in some big trouble. Spoils of War coming in. Steelblade Supremacy coming in. Iron Song Determination coming in. All three cards played. Dawnblade swings. So Spoils of War, next weapon attack +2 and go again. Whenever a weapon you control hits, gain 2 copper. It has go again. Steelblade Supremacy, until end of turn, target weapon gains +2, and whenever this weapon hits, draw a card, go again. Iron Song Determination, +1 and Dominate until end of turn. This has go again. And then the Dawnblade itself, coming in at strength 8. So 3, +1 there, 4, +2 there, 6, +2 there, 8. Strength 8 with Dominate, and it will draw on hit, and it has go again. This is going to be extremely bad for Grendel. He can't stop it. And the card that it will draw will allow Will to do another attack with this weapon. This could be an extremely dangerous situation for Grendel. And if the next card is like a Twinning Blade, like, man, there's really some situations here that would be terrible for Grendel. If the next card is a Twinning Blade, he could potentially swing again with his Tunic money and then play the Twinning Blade and break bolters and then get another giant swing. This is really, really unfortunate. Grendel does not want to be in this position. He's almost certainly going to have to block at least some. Yeah, so this is going to be. This attack is for 8 and it's going to draw a card. There's a good chance the next attack will be for either 7. Yeah, well, okay, so block for 3. Block for 3. No attack reaction, but this is going to get in. 5 damage getting through. Steelblade Supremacy triggers to draw a card for Will. If it's a Twinning Blade, this could be insane. It's an E-Strike, which isn't as good as it seems because there isn't another card in hand to allow the E-Strike to actually be played. But you know what he could do? He could use the Tunic to swing his next attack. Then he could break his bolters. And oh no, okay, so he's gonna go for a slightly safer option there, I think, where he's gonna use his bracers. So then he's coming in at strength 7. So this is good because it means that coming in at 7, it's not going to be stoppable by the equipment. So Grendel could have blocked with Leather's Gauntlet, Tunic, and a card for 6. But because the Braveforge Bracers here is being used, he is going to, Will is making this attack at a strength that Grendel can't stop. And then conceivably he could still use the bolters if the Spoils of War gets him something good. But there wasn't a Twinning Blade, so we're not going to see a third attack potentially. Likely another card is going to come out to defend against this just to prevent Grendel from getting too low, I think, but I'm not sure. So then highlighting the Braveforge Bracers here. Once per turn action, 1 energy, your next weapon attack this turn gains +1. Activate this ability only if a weapon you control is hit this turn, go again. So very interesting interesting there. Pitching the E-Strike to get the extra point of damage from those Braveforge Bracers. Coming in, powerful attack. So this Steelblade Supremacy is until end of turn, and the Iron Song Determination is also until end of turn. So this is +3 until end of turn, 3 base, +1 from the bracers. So coming in at strength 7. So there isn't a chance really for Grendel to stop this. He's going to block 3. He takes 4 damage. And that's going to put him down to 7. Then there's a card draw, and then that card's going to go into Arsenal there. And then we're going to see the +1 counter on Dawnblade. Really excellent turn there for Will. And I think it's kind of put him more into the driver's seat now. But Grendel is by no means out, so we're going to see what Grendel has to do. I think it's very likely that we're going to see one of those beatdowns played and then the other used to swing here. Just to try to force out a loss of momentum on Will, where he's likely going to have to block with 2 cards. Yeah, so first beatdown. The stronger beatdown, the yellow beatdown is played here. He's trying to roll up and intimidate, but keeps rolling cards that are, he keeps rolling cards. Oh man, that's a red, oh man, that's really dangerous also. That's a red Warrior's Valor, so we could see a strength 7 attack here with Warrior's Valor. 4 + 3. Okay, so how crazy do you want to be? If Will is no, so he can't afford it. So Will could just eat the 7 damage and go to 1 and then lead off with a life for a life into Warrior's Valor. But I don't think it's worth the risk. The reason that I say it's not worth the risk is simply that a reckless swing at that point would kill him. Now he could block with his armor enough that he's out of reckless swing range, but still lower life to play that life for a life. Oh, that would be interesting. Oh man, so that would be high risk, potentially high reward. So life for a life, similar to Scar for a Scar, it has go again if you're lower life than your opponent when you play it, and so he could, yeah, so he could block with his tunic. So he could block with tunic, bracer, skullcap for 3, take 4, be at 4 life. That's out of reckless swing range. He doesn't even have to block with the tunic. He could keep the tunic and be at 3. Oh, he's not. Okay, so Oh, ho, ho. Instead of using equipment, he blocks with the E strike. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. This is a little bit worse though. It's a little bit worse because he's not gonna have the energy for the second attack. If his Warrior's Valor swing lands, he won't have the energy for the second attack. So it would have been better to do an equipment block here because you would be threatening more damage. So a little unfortunate. Little unfortunate. So I think he's going to lead off with the probably going to lead off with the life for a life here. He can also do pitch the sink, play life for a life, and then play the CNC. So he really does have some interesting options. There is a red unmovable in hand. This is a pretty interesting hand from Grendel. Unfortunately, he has an energy potion which can't block, but he could pitch it to play that unmovable. We're gonna have to see what happens here. I think we're going to see the sink below pitched and into the life for a life. Yep, life for a life coming in. This is strength 4. If it hits, it will heal Will by 1 point. And it has go again because he's at less life than his opponent at this time. Grendel thinking about that. So he could block this with 1 card plus a piece of equipment. I think that's what we're going to see. Probably the Iron Rod Gauntlet going to come out here. Yeah, Iron Rod Gauntlet plus a single block that is going to stop that, and then I think we probably see the I think next we're going to see the Warrior's Valor into Dawnblade Swing for Warrior's Valor into Dawnblade Swing for 7. No, it's the CNC. Very odd play there by Will. Very odd play. So I don't know why he would do that. Playing the CNC when his opponent doesn't have a card in Arsenal, and this is also going to lose him his Dawnblade token. So I have to say, I don't think that's a very great play. Maybe he saw that his opponent had unmovable somehow. Tiny Grimes saying we're paired up in a different event. This is going to end soon, one way or the other. But yeah, so interesting play there from Will. Not how I would have done it at all. But because there's the ironically, this turns out to be pretty good with that hand because Grendel can't block with that unmovable because it's a defense reaction, and he can't block with the potion. So all he can do is block with his massacre, which does mean he's going to take 3 damage. Okay, yeah, 3 damage getting through. 4 life to 4 life. I have to say, I think that Warrior's Valor play would have been a lot better, though, because it would be 1 more point of total damage, plus it would not lose the Dawnblade counter. But I mean, I guess in that situation, Grendel could have merely pitched the energy potion to play the unmovable and stopped it anyway. But that's kind of a lucky and unusual situation to be in. In any case, though, looks like he's going to probably take 3 damage and go to 4 life here. Yeah, so it takes the 3 damage, blocking with the Massacre only, down to 4 life. 4 life to 4 life. One way or another, these players should be ending this soon. So then the Dawnblade loses its counter, which is the bad part of that. So then this is going to be Pitch, Potion, Swing Club, Unmovable, and Arsenal, almost certainly. That Unmovable and Arsenal is going to be... Oh, man. It's funny, though. Unmovable and Arsenal is normally going to be really good, but we do see there's a Dauntless. There's a Dauntless in hand there for Will, which could be just the card that he needs to mess with this Unmovable. He blocks the Club Swing. Takes 1. So he can pitch blue, Warrior's Valor plus Dauntless plus Swing. But he doesn't have the energy to play that Razor Reflex then, so it'll probably just be blocked normally, which is an unfortunate situation for him. There is still a little bit of equipment block left. So yeah, not great. He could also just pitch and not play the Dauntless and just go for the big swing and then get in with the Razor Reflex over a block potentially. But there is also a reckless man. There's actually a really good defensive hand from Grendel, unfortunately for Will, with a Reckless Swing and a Fate Foreseen. Though the Reckless Swing has a fair mischance here. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I think we could see the big attack. Warrior's Valor. Yeah, Warrior's Valor, Dauntless, and Swing. Coming in at strength 7. So Dauntless here. Next weapon attack this turn gains +1 because it is a blue Dauntless. Next defense reaction card the defending hero plays this turn costs an additional 1 to play with Go Again. And then the Warrior's Valor is +3. And next weapon attack gains +3. And if this hits, the attack gains Go Again. So this is 7 Go Again on hit. Next defense reaction costs 1 more. The problem is Grendel has his tunic charged up, so he can just pitch. He can just pitch here and still do a defense reaction to stop this attack, either with one of the small ones plus a card from hand, or with pitch Reckless Swing, use tunic, and use that unmovable. And Will doesn't have the energy to use his Razor Reflex to get in over the top, so this turn is not going to be fatal for Grendel, I feel. And we'll see what happens. Double block, blocking 7. Yeah, so he's not going to mess with the defense reactions. He's just going to go for a huge block here. Blocking 7 with the 2 cards and the equipment, and because there isn't energy for that Razor Reflex, that is going to end. That is going to end Will's turn. He does get to put the Razor in Arsenal though, which is definitely not a bad place to have one there, waiting for a future opportunity to try to get in over a block. And Grendel left only with defensive cards in hand. But he can pitch the Reckless Swing, or he can pitch the. I think probably you use Tunic and pitch Fate Foreseen to keep the Reckless Swing, so that if so that if Will takes the 1 damage here, he's in a position where he can get 1 hit killed by the Reckless Swing. So Will needs to be careful here and not go down to 2 life. If he goes down to 2 life, he's in instant death range. So this Reckless Swing is an additional cost to play it. Discard a random card. If it has 6 or more attack, deal 2 damage to the attacking hero. Will plays it conservative. Iron Song response plus the bracers to block for 4 total. Even 1 damage gain in at that point would have been potentially lethal in the future. So now he's actually in a pretty good spot on offense here. So we're probably going to see he has the Razor Reflex there. So he can pitch the blue hit and run. Yeah, pitch blue hit and run, play life for a life, swing the Dawnblade, and then potentially you can connect with your attack reactions and get into a position where you can then swing again with the Refraction Bolters. He also has the option to play the Razor Reflex on this life for a life. So for Go Again, if it hits, it will gain 1 life. And Grendel has to think about defense. So he has to block at least some or he dies right here. He does have 2 defense reactions. He has the Unmovable in Arsenal, and he has the Reckless Swing in hand. So he does have some good defensive options here. But both of those have annoying additional costs. Going to be a block for 3. Block for 4. So does Will play the Razor here? I think he does. I play the Razor here. And that's going to force out one of those defense reactions on something that is... it doesn't actually force the defense reaction because Grendel could get hit and go to 1. Yeah, but if he gets hit and goes to 1, he's in instant death range from Steelblade Shunt, which he doesn't want to be in himself. So Reckless Swing and Steelblade Shunt making their presence known with that damage that you can inflict as a defense reaction. So Razor Reflex coming in up to 7. There's the Reckless Swing on defense. So as an additional cost to play this, discard a random card. If the discarded card has 6 or more attack, deal 2 damage to the attacking hero. Oh man, 50-50. 50-50. If he hits the Barraging Beatdown on a roll of 1 through 3, he will not deal the 2 damage, which would be harsh for him. Okay, he hits that one. That deals the 2 damage, but it also puts him in a kind of risky spot because now he doesn't have energy to actually... He doesn't have the energy to actually play the Unmovable in Arsenal. This could be his end. This could be his end. The Dawnblade's coming in for 3, and there's that Iron Song response waiting. Oh man, this I think Grendel's gonna die here. If he blocks with that Barraging Beatdown, Iron Song response is gonna get him. It's going to get him for 3, and then he's going to break the bolters and use Tunic to swing again, and he can't play that unmovable. This is it. Yeah, Refraction Bolters used, Tunic used, and then the second swing with the Dawnblade there for 3, and that's going to be game. There's nothing he can do about it. Yeah, that's game. Will Harrison prevails at 1 life. Will wins over Grendel. What a game. Very intense play. Ironically there, hitting the result that gave him the damage on that Reckless Swing was probably actually unlucky for Grendel, because it meant that he lost the card that he needed to pitch in order to play the unmovable and defend against the next attack. What a crazy situation. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this stream. Normally, I would want to do an interview, but I don't think I'm going to have time to do it in this case because I need to get back to the other event. Really good game, though. Very engaging. And thanks to y'all for watching. We'll be back later with more Flesh and Blood content.